You're watching Newtown on the Air, where we bring you behind the scenes of human interest stories and behind the headlines of public affairs. I'm your host, Susan Clancy, and today we have the two guys and a pint, Brian Hartgraves and Gavin Arneth.
I'm here.
And I'm on the other side of the table this time.
He's on the other side of the table. And Gavin, I have an important question. Why do you call the show Two Guys and a Pint?
Pint?
Two guys and a pint.
And a pint. We had a few points.
Yes.
I was using an Irish accent.
That sounded really good. No, so Two Guys and a Pint was really, we came up with the name, I think, after the concept was developed, and we thought we're going to record in the Blackbeard Pub, which is a Irish bar that I built in my house. So all our episodes are recorded at the Blackbeard. So we try to get our guests loosened up by feeding them Guinness and Irish whiskey.
Wow.
Most of them partake too.
They do.
Especially you. You're one of the hosts.
That was my next question.
Yeah. So, that's how it all got started.
Well, talk about why it got started.
Yeah, so I think what happened was after the 2024 election, you were reading all the news the day after, and they were saying how traditional news networks, the number of people getting their information for the election and news in general is way down, and podcasts have become increasingly more and more how people are getting their news. And I know some of the younger folks, like my son, for example, they get a lot of information off of YouTube. So I just, after reading all that, it was right after that election, I said, there's no podcast in town. I've known Brian for a long time. I knew he has a great voice.
And face for radio.
Face for radio like I do. And so it just made sense for me to reach out to him. And it's just been a super partnership since we started.
It's
and
been
we're
a lot of fun.
Over 60 episodes in now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
And when we first started, we had some karaoke equipment that we were using to record things, and the sound was terrible. Mm-hmm. And we'd have guests come on, and we had originally had them set between us, and so they would look at Gavin and talk, and then they look at me and talk, but they wouldn't talk into the microphone. So we had this terrible first four or five episodes.
The biggest one was, I think it was Dan Rosenthal, who took pity on us. So there was a couple, like Dan Rosenthal took pity very early on and came on the podcast, and Michelle Embricou came on
very early on.
Yeah, when we really had no idea what we were doing, but it was very Brian does an amazing job of editing and putting together our raw material from our crazy podcast episodes. And he struggled immensely with those early ones when we had the terrible equipment and really didn't know what we were doing.
So you know what you're doing now?
Tell them about how we got squared away.
So what happened was we were probably about 8 or 9 episodes in, and I went to the Newtown Volunteer Ambulance Corps holiday party. I'm an EMT in town here. And I'm at the table towards the end of the night, and one of the fellow EMTs come up to me, this gentleman, Eric, who is I knew he was a sponsored volunteer firefighter as well as an EMT, but he came up to me and he looks at me and goes, Gavin, really, really love the Two Guys in a Pint idea. And I'm looking at my wife like, okay, where's this going? And he looks at me and goes, do you know what I do for a living? I said, no.
I know who that is.
Yeah, so he's actually the sound engineer or production engineer for the Dan Patrick Show, which is recorded down in Milford. Mm-hmm. And he said, listen, I'd really love to help you with your audio. It sounds awful. So, right?
Yes, he did.
So he came over to the Blackbeard and over a pint of Guinness or 3.
Looked at all our equipment and said, send this back.
Yeah, can you hopefully send this all back to Amazon, which I paid like $90 for it. Yeah. And then he was phenomenal. He came and kind of told us, this is the type of equipment you need, and came over to help us get it all set up. And I think the first episode we did was with Lucy, who was the executive director of the Newtown Sandy Hook Community Foundation, and the sound was just totally different. Yeah. And he even talked about the fact, don't put your guest in the middle. You guys are on
one end
and guest is on the other side.
That's what we're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys got it dialed in. We should have watched this first.
Yeah.
But
give me a little bit about your backgrounds. Who are you? And how does that play into your show?
Trying to figure that out.
Yeah. So I think I've been a long-time Newtown resident. My wife as well. I work in banking, so I have no previous podcast experience, no media experience, and I just have known Brian for such a long time. We got to know each other from years ago, 20 plus years ago, and I just knew that if he was willing to do it, I think it would be something that would be helpful. And I knew that we have such a rapport that it works, right, for most of the time?
I think it does, yeah. You haven't kicked me off yet.
No. And
I think a lot of your free liquor,
hell
too,
yeah, you do. But that's another topic. But and I have a tip jar on the top of the bar, and he still has not left me a tip once.
You don't take Apple Pay, so I can't really help with that.
I could figure that out. But anyway,
and I used to work for GE, which oddly I met you. I actually met Susan in Memphis when we were doing an acquisition because she was working for GE Real Estate, and she came down to help us get acquired into GE. But
integrate,
or assimilate. I think, like the Borg.
The Borg, Star Trek. Yeah.
But been here for 20 some years now, and. Again, Gavin and I sort of met through a mutual friend and have been sort of good buddies ever since. And I was really happy that he asked. I didn't think this podcast would go anywhere. I thought, sure, we'll play around a little bit and we'll do an episode or two. It's going to sound stupid. We're going to be embarrassed by it. We're not going to do it. But then when Dan Rosenthal said he'd come on, we're like, maybe we actually have something to say. And it was a very interesting conversation. And we kind of realized everybody kind of has a story to tell, and it's just a matter of getting it out and hearing what it is. And we've had great people come on. I've learned so much about the town, so much about the people in the town, and now people will actually reach out and say, hey, we'd like to come on the podcast to promote XYZ.
It's gotten more and more fun.
Yeah.
Who's coming up on the show?
Well, today we just had the owner and the head brew master of Reverie. That was published this morning. This is April, I don't know when we're going to get April 6th. It was a great episode. We got to try some of their beer, sample it. They brought some that had just been canned that day. We were the first ones to try it, and that was a lot of fun. We're going to have an episode tomorrow. We're going to record with the organizers of Earth Day, so we can help promote the Earth Day celebration in Newtown. So our 6 listeners will understand what's going on with Earth Day.
Your 6 subscribers.
Our 6 subscribers.
Exactly. No, and I think, the basic premise I think we started is that it's such a divisive time in the world, and it even bleeds down into Newtown. And my only mandate when we started this with Brian, and I said to him very early on, we're going to be apolitical. We're not going to be divisive. There's enough of that. So, for example, when we did the 2 candidates who were running for first selectman last year, we had both of them on individually, separate.
They're running mates. They're not really running mates, but the people that they ran with.
But the Democrats and the Republicans came on by themselves with their running mate. And it was kind of fun. We put a video out and asked our listeners from town to submit questions, and we asked both parties the exact same questions, and it was great. It was one of very, very popular episodes, got a lot of listens.
I like to do follow-up questions. So when we did it the first, I think it was the Republicans we did first or the Democrats. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I did a follow-up question, and Gavin was like, now you got to add that follow-up question in the next set when we do the next set of
fair. You got to keep it fair.
So everybody got the same follow-up questions.
Think, listen, the Newtown Bee, we've had them on as well.
Great.
Shannon and Jim, the editor, and it's a gem. And I just think that we felt that this would be a nice addition to all the wonderful things they're doing. Yeah. We're not professional journalists by any means, and they were actually helpful with us when we did that.
We're not professional at all.
Exactly. But we know all the help we can get. But I just think having their buy-in, they were phenomenal. But we got to see another side of those candidates that you wouldn't see. I think even when we had Jeff Capici on the first time, when he was actually
Jeff what?
Yeah, whatever. I'm not saying his name again, but I mean, just to see him, he had so much fun the first time he came on the podcast.
And he brought us bread.
Yeah, he did.
He's a big sourdough bread maker, and it was delicious.
Yeah, so I think that's
Thanks,
we've been really well received in town. I think Jordana and the library have been big fans of us. They had us do that trivia night with them, which was hysterical. We had a blast. They had us MC the turkey trot this year, which was a lot of fun.
It almost sounds like we just want the attention.
Yeah. So, but we're not looking to make any money on this. We're not looking for sponsors right now or any of that.
Right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I heard that.
we would love someday to be able to maybe add some
Take pity on
more
us.
video, and maybe that's something we'll have to get some help with. But
Yeah.
but right now, it's just I feel like it's something we're doing for the community.
We've also had returning guests. We've had one guest on 3 times. That is Jennifer Heaton-Jones of the Housatonic Resource Recovery Authority.
You have garbage and refuse issues, I think. I don't know why you keep having her on. But,
I find the garbage conversation very riveting.
Yeah.
And it's been a big topic in town with some of the changes we've had.
Yeah,
here at
and
the
her
transfer
episodes have
station.
been really, really popular.
She's a delight. We've had Dan on twice, the chief of police on twice. I don't know if we can tell a story about the first time we had the chief of police on.
No, he's great though. He was
great.
just
He
so
enjoyed being
enthusiastic
at the pub.
Yes, he did. Yes, we couldn't get him to leave.
So
That's,
it sounds like you're calling yourselves citizen journalists. And
I don't know if it's that. I think we
I
just
kind of like that.
Yeah. I think we're more
You can be Jimmy Olsen and I'll be Lois Lane.
enablers.
Enablers.
Yeah, I think Guinness should sponsor us. I mean, we give them a ton.
Yeah. Well, we had the gentleman from New Salem, Mark and Sharkey, and then they brought Drop of the Pure band in before St. Patrick's Day. They played some songs, and they also drank all of Gavin's beer. They actually emptied it out.
They did. They owe me some beer. I'm gonna go harass them soon about that too. But it's just. But again, that's the thing. When we have these type of guests on, it's very easy to say we're not actually help. I'm sure it helps their business having them on our show, but all these organizations, whether it's Reverie or New Salem, they're such advocates and they do so much for the community, whether it's hosting all these non-for-profits and not charging them a fee, or they're constantly giving back, having these local bands in to let them perform and do things. And so it's just been a lot of fun.
There's a lot of great people in
Yeah,
Newtown.
and I think at first one of our big fears was we're going to run out of guests after like 10, and
we went
have
every
no
week
problem.
for the first year,
Yeah,
and it just got to be a bit much, so now we're going every other week.
Yeah.
But I got Amy Mangold from Parks and Rec coming up pretty soon. I just we got a couple of those already lined up. I can't remember who they are.
Yeah.
But yeah.
are you guys biking buddies?
Yeah.
We've done some biking together,
yeah.
We got to know each other, call ourselves the girls, but it's a couple of friends of ours. We used to go up to, and we still do, we go up to Maine a lot. Four of us open a friend's cottage and have a lot of fun, and we met through our kids. I think it's how it all kind of got started.
Okay.
Which is kind of typical, I
Yeah.
But biking's a big passion. In fact, we had
Brad
Atchitella on.
So you said his name much better than I would have. I would have botched that one too. But
Big supporter of the town. Got the little
bicycle playground.
Yeah, bicycle playground built over by Fairfield Hills. Another great citizen in
he's on the Bike and Trails Committee. Donated a bunch of bikes to the town for the bicycle.
Like 100 bikes or something.
Yeah, from his company he's working for at the time. And I know that Bike and Trails Committee, we want to get somebody back on because it looks like the connection down in Swamp Road for the Housatonic Rail Trail is going to be going through. And but these are just all these people that
make the town great.
Yeah, and they're all volunteers. So I think
unsung heroes.
Yeah, so I think if we can volunteer to do a podcast that helps people learn about the town, and it's been very personally rewarding, and we're just having a lot of fun. I mean, it's just we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we can't.
We don't take ourselves seriously at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what are some of the other kind of libations that you guys enjoy on the show? Because Brian talks a lot about libations.
Libations.
She means drinking.
Yeah,
I know it's
I think
a big word.
what happened was during COVID, we had just gone to. My wife and I and our 2 kids had gone over to Ireland for the first time. Had a great trip over there, and we had this room in our house that was like an in-law apartment. It used to be a sitting room for my mother-in-law, and had no idea what we were going to do with that room, so we just decided to turn it into an Irish bar. So we're very, very loyal. It has a keg of Guinness on tap at all times.
A lot of Irish whiskey.
A ton of Irish. I've really focused. Top shelf is all Irish whiskey or Irish gin.
Yeah, a lot.
But yeah, so I think, I kind of bounce around, and I always try to get Brian completely inebriated, but I just haven't been able to do it yet. Someday I'll get him. But the Reverie guys were a lot of fun. We tasted, I think it was 5 beers in this episode that we just dropped, and
a lot of good ones too.
Fascinating, yeah. And just Andy, the brewer over there, is very, very talented, and it's just. We had the gentleman, John Watson, who's the head brewer over at New Salomon a couple weeks before, and he was fascinating, talking about Guinness and how it tastes, why it does, how it tastes that way. So we learned a lot, and we've learned a lot about the town, a lot about, there's so many fascinating people in this town.
So Gavin, you travel a lot. You're talking about Ireland, you just went to Portugal. What other places have you visited?
That's really
that's it.
That's
about
it.
No, we've been to Scotland a few times. Obviously, that's like, so now my wife and I, we really want to try to get into go over to Europe again, and so we're thinking probably Germany or Italy next year. We're going to be going out west, do Yellowstone, do some hikes out there, and Glacier.
What was the other place out west you just
we
went
did
to?
Grand Tetons last year, which was a lot of fun. So we're just
Yeah.
But as long as I have the podcast episodes recorded,
I went on vacation.
I get away.
I went on vacation to Bridgeport.
Yeah, there you go.
So Gavin, are you retired? I know Brian was retired
I'm still
and went
working.
back.
Yeah, no, I've got a few more years left in me. I'm in banking, and it's been it's been good. So and this is just like the volunteer ambulance. Being on the podcast, it's like another part of my brain. Versus the finance world. And there is that sense in both the volunteering on the ambulance or on the podcast with Brian. It's just that giving back and doing something I think that's kind of helping the community a little bit. So.
I like to think it does.
Yeah.
And we have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Very cool. So thank you guys. I love the dynamic you have here. I know that shines through not only on camera but on your show every day. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for sharing your story.
Well, thanks for having us on.
And thank you for watching Newtown on the Air. Please join the conversation because your story belongs here. See you next week.